Hey guys, we're moving on. This is question number 4. By the way, sorry about my knee being in the video a lot. I'm filming on the ground, so I don't know what to tell you. Alright guys, number 4 says find the zeros and their multiplicities. This is actually super easy. You're just looking for what values are going to make the thing 0. Here, if x is negative 3, negative 2 plus 3 is going to be 0. So the first 0 is x equal to negative 3. Second 0, what's going to make it 0 is if x is negative 2, so negative 2, that's the next one. And the last one is if it's positive 2. So these are my 3 zeros. Actually, I don't need to put x equals. I just want to say what the zeros are. Negative 3, negative 2, and 2. And then I want to say what are their multiplicities. Well, multiplicities just says how many times they appear. So this one, it's got a power of 3. That means negative 3 has a multiplicity of 3. This one has a power of 2. So this got a multiplicity of 2. And it's just 1, so multiplicity of 1. So multiplicity of 1. I'm sorry. Well, the first one was 3. 3, 2, and 1. Alright, the rest of the questions 5 and 6, they're basically the same idea, except I want to get to this point. I want to factor to this stage. And then I want to write the rest. Then I want to write out the zeros after that. Okay, so let's look at number 5. This is probably the hardest question. All right, question 5. It says f of x is equal to x cubed minus 4 x squared plus 3x minus 12. And it says hint, f of 4 is equal to 0. Alright, so we have to actually think back to our last class where we did all that division. Remember that? F of 4 equal to 0. What that actually means is that x minus 4 is a factor. So what's going to happen is this guy is going to be equal to x minus 4 times some other polynomial. Alright, how do we figure out that other polynomial? Well, the way that we do it is with division. So we're going to divide this whole thing by x minus 4. And remember, there's a shortcut for that because since it's the form x minus 4, I can use synthetic division. Alright, and this is going to be a 4 here. Yeah, so let's just run through the synthetic division algorithm. Remember, we just dropped this 1 first, right? So drop the 1, multiply 4 times that 1, which is 4. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. 4 times 0 is 0. And then 3 plus 0 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. Negative 12 plus 12 is 0. So you see this 0 remaining? That means we actually divided perfectly. This is what we were expecting, right? This guy here, this is going to be the constant term, the x squared term. So that means after I divide, I should get x squared plus 0x plus 3. X squared plus 3, that's the result. Okay, so coming back to my original equation, what that means is f of x can be written out this way as x minus 4 times x squared plus 3. Yeah, I divided perfectly, so this is the two things that multiply together to get me the whole original starting function, right? Alright, so this is looking pretty good. I already have one of the zeros right here clearly, it's 4. The other guy is going to come from this equation, but this equation is a little more tricky because what can I plug in to make this 0? There's no real number that's going to make that 0. So what I actually have to do is solve that thing. Alright, I'm going to do that in red on the side. Now, the way I'm going to do this is, it would have been easy just to plug the thing in equal to 0, but for the sake of giving you a general way that you can always use, I'm just going to skip straight to the quadratic equation. So that thing is, I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm writing b. Remember the quadratic equation again? That's x. This is one of those things you just kind of have to remember. It's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Yeah? Okay, I'm going to fill in my values. I'm looking at here, this is x squared plus 3. So b is actually 0. Yeah, b is the coefficient for the x, so that's 0. So 0 plus or minus the square root of 0 squared, which is just 0, minus 4, A is 1, and C is 3. 3 like that. Okay, so then what do I get? I'm missing something. 4AC, that's right, okay. And divided by 2, A is 1 again, yeah? Alright, next step. I'm going to switch colors so that I can distinguish the lines. I'm going to black now. It's 0 plus or minus the square root of 0 minus 4 times 1 times 3. 4 times 1 times 3 is 12. So that's negative 12, all divided by 2. Okay, that's going to simplify a little bit. It's going to be 0. Well, actually, I don't need the 0 anymore. I'm just going to ignore that. The square root of negative 12 is equal to 2 square root of negative 3 over 2. It's going to give me square root of negative 3, which is just square root of 3i. Yeah, you can see that? Square root of 3i. So that's the solution. Remember, there is actually a plus or minus here, though. This is a plus or minus here. Plus or minus. Plus or minus. So in actuality, I'm going to get the positive square root of 3i and the negative square root of 3i. All right, what does that mean for my function? Okay, coming back to the function, that means I can write it this way. F of x is equal to x minus 4, x minus the square root of 3i, and x plus the square root of 3i. Just like that. Sorry, I crossed over to this red part a little bit. Okay, so now I've successfully written out my function as factor of 3 things, right? The zeros are going to be the things that make these things 0. So it's 0 if this is 4, if this is the square root of 3i, if this is the square root of negative the square root of 3i. By the way, guys, make sure that you're clear. This I is outside of the square root. It's not underneath the square root. Let me just be extra clear. That I is outside of the square root. Only the 3 is inside of the square root. So what are my zeros? Their zeros are, multiplicities are 1. Zeros are 4 square root of 3 times I, and negative square root of 3 also times I. Here we go, right here. Those 3. Okay, I'm going to leave that for 1 second. You can pause the video if you want to see the whole thing. And then moving on to the last question. All right. Okay, I successfully fit that thing on this board. The board is a little small, but we just got to make do with what we got. Okay, last one. This one should actually be easier, I believe. We'll see what we get. Okay. Hold on, let me pull up the last question. We're on number 6. F of x equals x to the 4th minus 9x squared. Okay, nice. This one, actually, there's something really nice that happens. First of all, you see they have x squared, x to the 4th. They both have x squared in common. So when I go to factor this thing, right away, I get x squared. And then that's going to give me x squared minus 9. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. It's an easy one. See that? I just factored out at x squared, right? Now, x squared minus 9, you should actually recognize this. This is a difference of squares. 9 is a square number. X is x times x. 9 is 3 times 3, right? So that's just going to be x squared, x plus 3, x minus 3. Okay, beautiful. Then I'm pretty much done already. So the zeros come from this guy. It's 0 if that's 0. If this is negative 3, x is negative 3. Or if x is positive 3. The zeros are 0, negative 3, and positive 3. And I'll just write their multiplicities in red. Right below. That has multiplicity 2, because it's squared, right? Multiplicity 1 and multiplicity 1. And that is it, guys. We're done with the next three. Okay, I'm going to pause now, and then I'll do a separate video for the last couple questions.